Hi everyone, my name is Cody Carmichael, and today I would like to discuss with you an article in the New York Times titled, "We Didn't Eat the Marshmallow Ate Us." And the author of this article was Michael Bourne, and the date of publication was January 10th, 2014. Now, what this article was primarily about was a critical examination of a set of experiments done by a Walter Mischel. Now, he was a Stanford psychologist in the 60s and 70s, and what he primarily did were experiments in emotional intelligences, primarily of younger children. We're talking, around preschool. And what he would do is he would get a child in a room with just a table and a chair, have an examiner walk in, put down a marshmallow, and say, "Okay, either you can have this marshmallow now, or you wait until I come back and I'll get you another marshmallow and you can have both." Now, obviously there were several children that went for the first marshmallow right away, thinking, perhaps the only guaranteed treat was the one right in front of them, and others waited patiently. There are actually recreations of this on YouTube. Some of them try to take a nap. Some of them, try to imagine that it's a cloud or something else like that to resist temptation, as it were. Now, what's interesting is society as a whole, especially the American society, latched onto the study pretty strongly um, because a couple years later, they decided to revisit some of the children, and some of them were willing to give out things such as SAT scores, GPAs, etc., etc. And what they found was those who had initially resisted the marshmallow tended to have higher SAT scores. Now, this is purely causational. Resisting eating one marshmallow does not improve your SAT scores. Otherwise, people who were, avert to sweets would be ruling the world, without a doubt. But for some reason, the American culture, at least according to this article, and I'd be inclined to believe it, thought there was some greater fate at play, that some people were just born with the ability to resist temptation and therefore had better and more successful lives, which took out a very important idea, which is outside influences, the environment, and of course, the culture back home, where for some of these kids, as I said earlier, the only guaranteed treat is the one standing in front of one sitting in front of them, rather. I'm afraid marshmallows don't have legs to stand on. But it does point to an interesting flaw in our system where um, people do tend to latch on to one small idea and then throw it on everything. And that's with our society. However, what's interesting about psychology in general is the idea that these children from a very young age were able to develop what's called emotional intelligence. Of course, some obviously developed later, and there's actually interesting recreations here on YouTube itself that you can watch. I'm not too sure about in-depth examination on YouTube, as it were, but I can guarantee you there's at least 100 different articles on Google Scholar where you can do revisitations of information. You can do readings on the original experiment and on Michel's further works, which are interesting in pediatric mental development and emotional intelligence as a whole. Um, and that's about it. Actually, that's all I have for today. Thank you for listening, and have a good night.